Wednesday, 8 p.m. Nelson Search and Rescue was called out to launch a ground search for an overdue plane. The aircraft is being flown by 83-year-old Ian Gordon Smith, a recreational pilot with over a decade of flying experience. The plane they're searching for is a vintage single-engine two-seater Ercoupe. First manufactured in 1939, the Ercoupe was designed to be the safest fixed-wing aircraft of its time. Mr. Smith had restored the plane and had flown it for the past 10 years. The plane had taken off from Vulcan, Alberta, stopping in Cranbrook to refuel, then continuing on to Kelowna. Slated to arrive at 5 p.m., Mr. Smith was reported overdue by Kelowna Air Traffic Control, and the search began. A number of people report seeing the plane earlier in the day over a mountainous, heavily forested area near Crawford Bay on the east shore of Kootenay Lake, about 40 kilometers northeast of Nelson. Search aircraft scour the Crawford Bay area for 3 hours, with no sign of the missing plane or signs of a crash, such as broken branches or trees. But as dusk approaches, a weak emergency locator transmitter, or ELT signal, is received. That's when Nelson Search and Rescue is called in to do a ground search.
Search and Rescue military had already been out on it. It's their jurisdiction. The aircraft, they believed, may have gone down in an area that was more suitably accessed by ground search and rescue.
To get to Crawford Bay, the team must take a ferry. SAR manager Murray Springman uses the opportunity to do a mission briefing, which includes addressing one of the possible outcomes.
By the way, the subject is deceased. As you all know, you can check the body, but you do not move the body until the coroner has been approved.
This road will take us right to where that plane mark is on the Google Earth.
A maze of logging roads leads them into the Crawford Bay area. It's pouring rain. The team has to clear a fallen tree from the road.
There's two trails that intersect here. One to the left, one to the right, one goes down.
They reach the location and are hopeful to find the plane just off the road in one of the open clear-cut areas. They do a hasty search, scanning the easy areas first, aiming to reach the pilot as quickly as possible.
Which way? Well, they didn't see anything.
The team regroups for a more detailed search of the area. This can be hazardous in the dark. Some areas have cliffs, others have dense shrubs and trees. Some are more open. The location is broken down into 4 main grids. The teams carefully walk each grid within sight of one another. They flag the search locations with SAR tape as they go to avoid missing any ground. Aircraft continue to fly overhead using searchlights to spot the plane. Four hours later, nothing. The team calls it a night at 3 a.m. and heads back to a nearby hotel where they'll stay and resume searching in the morning. It's now day 2. It has been determined that the weak ELT signal detected on day 1 was only radio interference. More SAR teams have joined the search.
We have 5 search teams here today: Kimberley, Cranbrook, Beaver Valley, Nelson, and Castlegar. And we've got a total of 37 people. And we're expecting the arrival of sleds to go into possible avalanche territory, though, so we've got Avitex on those teams.
New information has surfaced. Search coordinators have pinged the pilot's cell phone, sending a signal to it from the cell provider. The phone has sent a signal back. The Ercoupe is definitely 11.48 kilometers from the Pilot Point cell tower, somewhere in a 9-kilometer wide path. Normally, the search would move out in all directions from the last sighted location. Now, all the eggs are in one basket as they comb a single area, Grey Creek Pass. But it's still a needle in a haystack search. Grey Creek Pass is notorious, with a number of small plane crashes occurring here in past years. Small planes use the pass to cut between the east and west Kootenay Mountains. If they encounter poor visibility or bad weather here, pilots will turn back in the tight bowl-shaped area. lose too much airspeed in the turn, and the plane could crash. SAR teams on snowmobiles start searching Grey Creek Pass.
We had sent out a hasty team up there to, see where the snow line was and how far we could access up the valley, how we could search it.
We've probably had about 3 to 4 inches of snow that's fallen overnight, and we're looking for any indication of an aircraft crashing here. The helicopter's been working this area for well over an hour now. They're not finding much, but who knows? We're looking for a very small airplane that's possibly covered in snow. That could be in some very thick brush.
By now, it's late afternoon. With 24 hours of alpine exposure, recent snow and rain, and likely injury, the pilot's chances for survival have dropped dramatically. The team calls it a day, planning for an early morning start. Friday morning, day 3 in the search for a missing plane.
Surface fractures on the rolls there, you see that?
Aircraft, snowmobiles, and snowshoeing teams will all comb Grey Creek Pass today. This is avalanche territory. Dave Smith, an avalanche technician with over 20 years' experience, works ahead of the teams.
Just trying to look at the safety factor for the searchers, and some of whom will be up near tree line, and we want to make sure that they're not straying into an area of hazard or potential avalanche hazard.
He checks the strength of the various layers. A strong layer below may act as a sliding surface for the snow on top, especially if a weak layer lies in between.
There's nothing really volatile here, nothing too touchy.
The helicopter arrives. It settles, but stays powered up to avoid sinking into the snow and getting stuck. For the remainder of the day, the helicopter will deposit search teams into various parts of Grey Creek Pass, all the while searching for the downed aircraft. At 4 p.m., the team starts pulling back to debrief. Still no sign of the missing plane from ground or air. Saturday morning, day 4 in the search for the missing plane. A warming trend increases avalanche danger in Grey Creek Pass. The ground teams have already done everything they can and stand down. The air search continues, going over Grey Creek Pass again and again. One broken treetop is spotted. They lower a SAR tech down through the canopy to investigate. The plane, along with the deceased pilot Ian Gordon Smith, has been found. The downed plane was found exactly where the cell ping had determined. It had been flown over several times, but snow cover made it very difficult to spot. It is now 3 months later. Chris Armstrong is on his way to Crawford Bay to meet Mardell Chinook, the daughter of the deceased pilot, Ian Gordon Smith.
The family of Mr. Smith has come out from Alberta. They've asked to see if they can get out to the actual crash site. Going to meet up with him here pretty soon and head up into Grey Creek Pass, see how close we can get to the actual crash site.
Hi, I'm Chris.
Chris, I'm Rod, and this is Mardell.
Hi.
Hello. Pleased to meet you.
So we're going to go for a little jaunt and see if we can find the location.
Okay.
I just want to find a spot where the closest point from the road to the crash site shouldn't be too much further here. So you see that ridge that runs kind of in the middle here? Basically, you follow that straight up, 2,300 vertical feet from here.
I felt his journey as we were, driving along the highway. I knew that he had been flying along that highway. To be flying at 83 years old by himself in his own plane, I think says it all, but that's the kind of person he was, just a free spirit.
We've been in for about an hour. We're just under halfway up.
When we were making the journey here yesterday, I felt a lot of happiness from him. That, it was good for him. So for me, I think this is going to be closure.
Well, this is the spot. I knew Transport Canada was coming up here, and they've taken away the fuselage maybe in the last 2 or 3 days. There's 2 top trees here. Came in here. The rest of the debris pile that we've seen, broken plexiglass, a battery, lots of odds and ends, is all strewn through the trees that way.
It's just really hard. But at least we found it. I think I hear my dad saying, "Atta girl." He did say it was a chip off the old block once.
When you spend days looking for somebody and you don't find them, you know, it rattles around in your head. You want to be successful. You know, long after the subject's plane was found, you know, emails flying around constantly. People wanted to know where he was found, what was the location, what was the long and lat, because they all want to go in Google Earth and see where they searched and how far it was from your search area. It's pretty important. You put all that effort, you got a lot of pride in what you do. You know, people want to know. You get pretty pumped up. You want the closure.